Alright, hello there, this is TPA017. Today this is the bit of a look at some games that came out in April, 2025. I've got a fair few to cover this time. This might be the most I've covered in the video, if not, it'll be the second most. So, with that being said, so this one I've dubbed the cute, colourful, apocalyptic edition. Mostly because that's pretty much what a good chunk of these games are. So let's get started, shall we? So, we've got a pretty good selection this month, so let's get into it. First up, we have Haste, Broken Worlds by Landfall. So it's a roguelite high-speed runner. You have to keep ahead of the end of the universe with collapsing levels and the like. There's 4 different biomes. And the levels are procedurally generated, and there's a fair few different characters to encounter along the way. It's quite a pretty little game. So let's have a look at the trailer. That was Haste, available for Windows, Mac, Linux, $19.99 US. You might recognise Landfall from they did Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, or TABS. So, system requirements: Windows 10 or Linux, Intel Core i5-2400, which is a bit of an older one at this point, so you shouldn't have any troubles, or an AMD FX 6300, 8GB of RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 670, or an AMD Radeon R9 270, and 4GB of free space. So honestly, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Same with the Mac side, macOS 10.14 Mojave, Intel Core dual core processor, 8GB RAM, and AMD Radeon Pro 560X or better, and 4GB of free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. Okay, so next up we have LONESTAR by Mathitide. So I remember covering this one last year when it did really well in early access. Launched in early access January last year. So it's now released after about a year and a quarter. So solid sci-fi roguelike. It's over 100 different events, number of pilots and ships, number of treasures, and a variety of criminals to take on. It's a very interesting thing. So let's have a look at the trailer. This is a bit of a shorter one, that trailer, but let's have a look. So it's on Windows and Mac and the Switch. The Switch was a relatively recent release, 12th of April, I believe. $12.99 on Steam. System requirements: Windows 10, Intel Core 2 Duo 2.13 GHz, which is that shouldn't be a problem, to be honest. 4 gigs RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GT 730, or a Radeon AMD Radeon HD 4830, and 2 gigabytes of free space. I'll look at what I'm saying in a moment. On the Mac side, macOS 13 Ventura, Apple M1 for CPU and GPU, 2 gigs of RAM, and 800 megabytes of free space. I'd probably assume a bit closer to the 2 gigs just to make sure, but you shouldn't have any trouble running it regardless. I mean, it runs on the Switch, so. Rightio. Sephiria by Team HORAY. This one entered early access in April. So top-down roguelites by the team behind Dungreed, which did really, really well. You had to proceed down the tower to try to prevent its destruction, while meeting different animals, discovering artifacts, and battling enemies. They expect it to be in early access for about a year. So let's have a look at the trailer. So that's Sephiria. So that's for Windows and Mac, $14.99 US. Windows 10, 64-bit. AMD Ryzen 5, 1400 or better. 4 gigs RAM, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTS 750 or better. Again, that one's a pretty old one, so it shouldn't be a problem. And 1 gigabyte free space. Next side, macOS 11, Big Sur. Apple Silicon CPU, like an M1. 4 gigs RAM, 7-core Apple M1 GPU, and 1 gigabyte free space. Once again, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Rightio. Next up, we have 3 Kingdoms of the Blood Moon by Kygua Tech. This one entered, left early access, entered it in March last year. This is a turn-based roguelike card game set during the 3 Kingdoms period in China. There's a number of different characters to play as, 4 different types of cards, plus a number of different relics and events. There's a few roguelites I'm covering this time around. So this one's a bit different. It depends on how you feel about the Chinese setting, but it's an interesting little thing. So let's have a look at the trailer. So that one I've had to upscale from its original size, which is pretty small. So available for Windows and Mac. Retail price $8.99 US, although I've had to convert that. Might be off by a couple of cents. System requirements are Windows 7, Windows XP to Windows 11, 2 GHz CPU, 2 gigs RAM, 1 gigabyte of free space. On the next side it says macOS 10-14, so I'm assuming Mojave. Once again, 2 GHz CPU, 2 gigs RAM, 1 gigabyte for GPU, 1 gigabyte free space. So it shouldn't be a problem. Alright, next up, LEILA by Ubik Studios. This is a very pretty hand animated point-click adventure about a woman exploring and experiencing her memories in life through a number of puzzles and minigames. There is a scene with self-harm, but there is an option given to skip it if you're not a fan of that. So yeah, so let's have a look at the trailer.
Aging is partly the wisdom of understanding which memories you should cherish and which ones you should let fade.
Say what you wanna say, I'll be the other guy. Don't engulf in his dreams, let me show you how it's done. Show you how it's done. Praise the madness, that praise it from your heart. And embrace the freedom you don't wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be. Thank you for forgiving me for me.
So that was available on a few different platforms: Windows, Mac, PS4, PS5, Xbox One and Xbox X and S, and the Switch. $11.99 US. System requirements are Windows 7 or later, Intel Core i3 7100, which is about 7 years old at this point, 4 gigs RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GT 440, 2 gigabytes of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble running it. On the Mac side, macOS 10.13 or 0, 2.33 GHz or faster processor. Again, pretty easy to do. 4 gigs RAM, 1 gigabyte GPU, and 2 gigabytes of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Right, next up, Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days by PikPok. This one also entered early access in April. This one's a side-scrolling survival game set amongst a zombie apocalypse. Recruit various survivors, establish outposts, craft weapons and tools. It's still being worked on, but it's looking already quite good. They expect it to be in early access for about a year. So let's have a look at the trailer.
I hear the tolling bell. I can't take the sound. Blinded at the pie, standing in the fire till the dreams went dead in the whites of their eyes. Nothing's going where they fell. I think I'd rather know hell.
Alright, yeah, so that one's available for Windows and Mac, $24.99 US. It's done really well. I think it had... Oh, I think it had over about 2,000 positive reviews so when I checked. Or maybe that was another game. But anyway, so Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 4460 or an AMD FX 8550. Again, they're pretty old at this point. 8 gigs RAM, and NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960 2GB, or AMD Radeon R9 to 83GB. Now the space isn't mentioned for either of them, so, but I suppose it's still in development. So, okay. So on the Mac side, macOS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1 CPU and GPU, 8GB RAM. I'd say you shouldn't have any trouble on it. Just might make sure you have a bit of space free, just in case. Alrighty, next up, Girls Made Pudding by Kazuhide Oda. So this one's a visual novel / adventure game, or a visual novel, but two girls exploring abandoned towns and trying to work out what happened, why people have disappeared, and also making food along the way. It's a very interesting idea. It reminds me of Girls' Last Tour, with the kitten crab. So, there's no trailer for this one, because it's, they did it with they hired a couple of Japanese singers, and they released it as a music video, and so I don't want to risk getting copyright struck, so yeah. So, no trailer for that one. So it's available on Windows and Mac and the Switch, $9.99 US, Windows 10 or 11, Intel Core i5, 16GB of RAM, which seems a bit high to me, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650, and spaces as mentioned. On the Mac side, macOS 14 Sonoma, Apple M1 CPU, 16GB RAM. I think they're overestimating the system requirements there a bit. I'm pretty sure you could run it with something less, but yeah. Radio. Peppered by Mostly Games. It's a platformer where you, as the office intern, must intervene and prevent doomsday, hopefully. There's a variety of paths and endings, plus some stealth sections and a decent bit of comedy as well. Very interesting little thing. I've watched a couple of videos of it myself, so let's have a look at the trailer. Radio. So that's available for Windows Mac, $14.99 US. System requirements aren't mentioned, but I don't think that'd be very high, to be honest. So let's move on. Sorry, I Surrounded Beauty by Really Games. This is a full motion video / dating sim. We've covered a few of these before. You fall on hard times and get assisted by some beautiful young women as you work to uncover the story of your failing business. Over 30 endings, 80 different branching paths to explore, so let's have a look at the trailer.
你一定有很多故事吧？沉默，你醒了。
沉默，
沉默，
干杯！沉默，你喝呀！干杯！
你怎么知道今天是我生日？
男人果然都一个样。今晚的夜色真美啊，不是你想的那样。
就让我握一会儿。
Radio, I believe one of the... sorry, I should mention that trailer's been upscaled from the original size again by me. So, Windows and Mac, $10.99 US, but that price has been converted again, so it could be off by a couple of cents. So, one of the actresses there, I believe she's starred in a couple of other of those FMV games as well that have come out recently. So, yeah, she seems to be busy. So, system requirements: Windows 10 64-bit, Intel Core i3, 4GB RAM, 15GB of free space. These are a bit beefy. So Mac side: macOS 11 Big Sur, Intel Core i3, 4GB RAM, 15GB of free space. Again, with these, it's not so much about the CPU or the RAM; it's more about how much free space you have. So let's continue on. So, Love Curse: Find Your Soulmate by Xi. So this is a girl love visual novel where the protagonist has 1 year to find her soulmate or she'll die. It's done really well. Over 1,000 positive reviews. So there's 4 romanceable characters, 40 CGs and 7 supporting characters as well. And there's some interesting characteristics there. So this one's actually made by a Chinese studio, which is a bit unusual for the genre. So let's have a look at the trailer.
我很期待和姐姐以后的交往。我没有目的，如果说有，那就是你。
你好像很紧张呀，学妹。我嘛，当然是要把她牢牢地绑在我身边。
小刘怎么没跟我说过？他还有这么一个朋友，为什么我只是做了一个伴侣应该做的，你就觉得喘不过气了呢？
他的协议还在我这里，人员调动需要我同意。
这是爱吗？我不明白，我只是不想让你走。
对不起啊，姐姐，我擅自牵了你，你要罚我做什么都可以。
白色的花，你看，感伤吗？弄脏了，更漂亮吧？
其实，每次和你待在一起，我都觉得从未有过的轻松。你的心意我明白，但不管是我个人，还是作为你的上司，我都不希望你逞强。
Yes, when I was looking up the trailer of this, I noticed a couple of the well, I say smaller VTubers, but yeah, larger than me, had been playing it. There was one from Vietnam, I believe. So, anyway, platforms: Windows and Mac, $12.99 US. System requirements, pretty low. Windows 10, 64-bit, 2 GHz Intel processor, 1 GB RAM, 2 GB of free space. Mac size pretty similar, except 4 GB RAM instead. That's not really a problem. So, I'll move on to the next game, but I'll have a quick bit of the coffee first. So, hang on, just. Sorry about that. Sorry. True Fear, Forsaken Souls Part 3 by Goblinz Enterprises Limited. As you can probably tell, this is the third part of the Forsaken Souls series, or True Fear series, I should say. So it started back in 2016, point-and-click horror, horror puzzler, very nice art, solid puzzles. It was a little bit mixed about the story, but you know, if you're interested in kind of the puzzle horror kind of thing, or you know, want to try a point-and-click adventure, it's worth a look. They're doing a trilogy at the moment, trilogy sale at the moment, or they're bundled into the trilogy. Right, yeah. Anyway, a quick running, or get on to the trailer.
I'm not sure what happened. It feels like it's been years. With every step I take, every clue I uncover, I feel less and less in control, like someone else is writing the story. As a child, I loved dark fairy tales. An unexpected visitor sets you on a quest only you can complete. And no matter the dangers, you trust the breadcrumbs will lead you to a happy ending. But this isn't a fairy tale.
So, the other entries in the series have come out on other platforms in the past, but currently this Part 3 is only on Windows and Mac, but pretty likely there'll be a console release or something like that in the near future. Okay, so $9.99 US. So system requirements: Windows 10, 1.5 GHz CPU, 1 GB RAM, DirectX 9, 10 or 11 capable GPU or Vulkan capable, and 2 GB of free space. Mac side, Mac OS 11 Big Sur, 1.5 GHz Apple CPU, no Intel, 2 GB RAM, Metal capable GPU, and 2 GB of free space. Basically, if you're watching this video, you should be able to run it, no problems. Right, yeah. Next up, we have Throne of Bone by Windmill Slam. This one entered early access back in April last year, so it came out after. So yeah, it's come out after your early access. Command an army of the dead with this roguelike deck builder auto battler. Over 60 minions to summon, plus 70 spells to help influence battles, hopefully in your favour. It's had a little bit of a rough launch, but there's patches rolling out, so yeah. So let's have a look at the trailer. Sorry about that, I'm done with my coffee now. So, this one's on Windows and Mac, $19.99 US. Windows 7 or later, 2 GHz or better CPU, 1 GB RAM, any GPU after 2012, 2 GB of free space. Similar on the Mac side, except swap Windows for macOS Monterey. And yeah, so you shouldn't have any trouble running it. So if you're interested in it, have a look at it. So, alright, let's move on. Old Skies by Wadjet Games. Now, they've been around for 20, 25, maybe nearly 30 years. So they've done a variety of point-and-click adventures. This one's their latest entry, of course. This one's a time-travelling adventure. You have to keep an eye on 7 tourists. They're scattered throughout 7 different time periods, and you have to make sure that nothing goes wrong that could affect the future, because that could be bad. So let's have a look.
I'm Fia Quinn. I'm a time traveller. The future is fragile. Things can change instantly, and you won't ever even know it. We're not like other people. Their lives can be changed or erased in a moment, but not us. We're beyond all that. So, does it actually matter what we do? Does anything we do actually matter when you get down to it?
They told us we could see all the paths not taken, like it was so magical, so blasting special. But they left out one important thing. All those paths, none of them include us.
This isn't supposed to happen. We stay the same. Everything else changes. That was the deal. That's why I joined. It's not blasting fair. I am going to fix this. And I am going to die trying. As many times as it takes.
Yeah, so that was Old Skies, available on Windows, Mac, Linux, and the Switch. $19.99 US. System requirements 7, 8, and 10. Or Ubuntu, Debian, or Arch. A 2.7 GHz dual-core processor, 2 GB RAM, a DirectX 5 or OpenGL capable GPU, which shouldn't be a problem, and 4 GB of free space. So on the Mac side, macOS 10.13 High Sierra, any CPU, 2 GB of free space, and 2 GB RAM and 4 GB of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble on it. Very particular thing, and the developer's been around for yonks, so worth having a look. Beholder Conductor by Alawar. So this is a bit of a spin-off of the Beholder series. You have to ensure the safety of the state by reporting incidents, monitoring passengers, and handling assignments as the conductor of the train determination bringer. So the Beholder series has been going on since 2016. Bit dystopian, to put it mildly. So let's have a look at the trailer. Radio, so that's on Windows Mac, $13.99 US. System requirements are Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 4440 or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600, 60GB RAM, and NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960 or an AMD Radeon RX 550 or Intel HD Graphics 4600 and 6GB free space. Shouldn't be a problem. On the Mac side, macOS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1 CPU, 6GB RAM, GPU that supports OpenGL, and 60GB free space. So, yeah, shouldn't be a problem running it. Okay, next up, Replicube by Walaber Entertainment LLC. This is more of a puzzle/toy, writing code to generate 3D voxel-based objects that can be exported in a number of formats, to things like Blender and the like. There's some, I'll say some knowledge, but you probably want to know a bit of lore to get the most use out of it. But if you're looking to try something a bit different, and you know lore, might be worth having a look. So let's have a look at the trailer. I gotta be honest, it's kind of magic to me, but so platforms. Alright, I should mention once again had to upscale the trailer. So that's Replicube, Windows, Mac, Linux, $9.99 US. System requirements are really not too bad. Windows 7 or a Linux that came out after 2016. CPU x86-32 with SSD2 support, or x86-64, which is basically all of them. 4GB RAM, any integrated graphics card with Vulkan 1.0 support or better, which is basically all of them, and 300MB free space. Similar on the Mac side, macOS 10.15 Catalina, Apple or Intel CPU, 4GB RAM, GPU with Vulkan support, and 300MB free space. Basically, if you're able to watch this video, you'll be able to run Replicube. So, let's move on. Monster Prom 4, MonsterCon by Beautiful Glitch. This is another entry in the odd, dating sim comedy series. Something held at a convention. This time made some interesting characters to romance. It's a bit hard to describe, but in a good way. You'll see what I mean when you look at the trailer. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm a big weirdo. I'm a big weirdo. Yes, 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 yes. I'm a super total weeb. I'm a super total weeb. I'm a cosplay inspector, and a 10, but I'm a natural 20. I was lonely back then, here I am, one of many. I can't wait till the time when the weekdays are gone. Got a goal, don't wait up, heading straight to the con. Yes, 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 yes. We're all big weirdos. We're all big weirdos. Yes, 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 yes. And we'll make this one a hit. We'll make this one a hit.
Yeah, you can probably see why I was struggling to describe it. So, Windows back Linux, $14.99 US. System requirements are Windows 8 or Ubuntu, anything from the last 5 years for the CPU, 8 gigs RAM, 2 gigabytes of free space. Next side, well, just as Mac OS X, anything from the last 5 years for the CPU again, 4 gigs RAM, 2 gigabytes of free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it, to be honest. Alright, next up. World of Goo 2 by 2D Boy. So this is the sequel to the, I believe it was 2008 that came out, 2008 original. You should absolutely play it, by the way. Fantastic game. It technically came out last year on the Epic Game Store, which, yeah. So, meet new species of goo like jelly goos and explosive goo. Experiment with them across 60 new levels. It's gotten pretty good reviews. Price is a bit steep in my opinion, but let's have a look at the trailer anyway. Rightio, so that's on a few different platforms now. Windows, Mac, Linux, PS5, Switch, iOS and Android, $29.99 US. I think it's, yeah, I mentioned I think it's a bit steep, but anyway. So Windows 10 or, well, Linux isn't mentioned, but anyway. Intel Core i5 1135G7, so I believe that's about 4 years old at this point, 3-4 years old. 8 gigs RAM, Intel Iris Xe, which is integrated graphics, and 2 gigabytes free space, so you shouldn't have any trouble running it. On the Mac side, Mac OS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1 or Intel Core M CPU, 8 gigs RAM, Intel Iris Graphics 540, and 2 gigabytes of free space. So once again, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Rightio. Next up is Warfare Legacy Collection by Con Artist Games. So, a bit curious to see how many of you played this on Armour Games way back in the day. I mean, I know I did. A fair bit. Fantastic World War 1/World War 2 side-scroller strategy title. I mean, he described it as tug of war, which probably is better than what I said. With updated graphics and a new campaign covering the Battle of the Bulge. Very solid little thing. So, let's have a look at the trailer.
History never looked this good. Relive every battle with stunning 4K graphics that bring warfare to your screen like never before. Fight your way through campaigns from both sides, or get yourself into a skirmish of your liking. While the tanks still run on diesel, Our game is fully rebuilt and powered by Unity. These are world wars. Command your troops in new languages from around the globe. Now, with additional voices, listen closely to your commanders. And remember, every decision made will echo through the ages. This is Warfare Legacy Collection.
Where's the A? So, Windows Mac Linux, $9.99 US, really good price. Windows 7 or, well, Linux isn't mentioned, but anyway, so 2 GHz dual core processor, 4 GB RAM. Similar on the Mac side, macOS 10.2 Sierra, I believe. 2 GHz dual core CPU, 4 GB RAM. You shouldn't have any trouble running it, to be honest. Radio. So let's continue on. Dimensionals by Mino Games entered early access in November 2024. It's a roguelike comic book style turn-based RPG. There's a variety of heroes to take on Ragnarok's forces, as he tries to take out various dimensions. It's had a little bit of a rough launch. The developers have had a bit of financial issues and had to lay off some of the staff, but it's still being worked on, still being developed. So yeah, it's still worth a look. So anyway, let's have a look at the trailer. So that's Dimensionals, available on Windows and Mac, $19.99 US. System requirements are a bit basic. 4 GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GT 640M or a ATI Radeon R9 290X, and 2 GB free space, which it shouldn't be a problem. Apple M1 CPU, or better. 8 GB RAM, 2 GB free space. Once again, shouldn't have trouble running it. Now I think we're getting down to the last couple. Let's see. StarVaders by Pengonauts. This one's done really well. This is a roguelike deck builder. You pilot a mech and fend off invading aliens on a bit of a grid tactics-based battlefield using a variety of cards and artifacts. It's done really, really well. It's well worth a look if you're a fan of things like, say, The Spire, etc. So let's have a look.
Lana, standing by. Stinger, standing by. Keeper, standing by.
So that's on Windows and Mac, $24.99 US, well worth it, I believe. So operating systems, Windows XP to Windows 11, 2 GHz CPU, 4 GB RAM, 4 GB GPU, 3 GB free space. On the Mac side, macOS 10.14, more hardware, 2 GHz CPU, once again 4 GB RAM, 4 GB GPU, 3 GB free space. Shouldn't have any trouble on it. Now, Cloud by Sabaka Studio. So it's a bit of a roguelike build 'em up. It's a bit, when you play as a, well, not technically a cyborg, well, as a prisoner in a penal colony or slash prison, and you have to escape by taking part in a reality TV show, which consists of beating other prisoners, getting their cybernetic implants, and getting to the shuttle. It's well worth a look for if you're a fan of beat 'em ups. It's had a little bit of a rough launch, but it seems to have smoothed out. So let's have a look at the trailer.
Damn! What have you done here? Morgan. This mega tower is the most secured prison in the galaxy. And the only way to escape from here is just within our soul. Of course, if you want to see your family again. Maybe you want to give up. No way, ugly boss. Oh, what a man! Have it away. The rules never change. Fight to gain freedom. Welcome to the last second. Welcome to the jungle. Keep moving. Yes. Oops.
So that's actually on a few more platforms than I thought. My checks only said it was on Windows and Mac, but anyway. $24.99 US. Operating system comments. System comments. Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 3470 or an AMD FX 8350, 4 GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660 or an AMD Radeon RX 550. And 20 GB of free space, so a bit of a beefy one. CPU, so on the Mac side, OS isn't mentioned, but probably a fairly recent one. Apple M1 or an Intel Core M, 4 GB of RAM, and 25 GB of free space, so once again, a bit beefy. Now, honourable mentions, a couple here. Synergy is the one on the left, by LEILA Studio. Entered early access May last year. So a bit of a rather pretty little city builder in a unknown world. You have to explore, catalogue the fauna, the flora, I should say. Keep your citizens happy. It's not so bad. Reviews are a bit mixed about it. I mean, they're positive, but yeah. And Crush the Industry by Cognoggin Games. Entered early access in March 2023. This is a roguelike deck builder set around and in a game studio. There's a number of characters and skills parodying game development, plus a range of events and enemies. It's not too bad. It just fell a bit short of actually making it onto the main part of the list, but yes, but it's still worth a look, I'd say. I mean, all of these games are. So that's it for this month's little recap. So what I'll do, I'll leave you to it. Links to the games will be in the description as always, and yes, I'll see you next time, I suppose.